Yeah.
Oh no, it's one of those moments. Okay. Oh,
Welcome to another episode of Cucina Quarantena. There we go.
Yay! Today we're making cassoulet, which I don't actually even still know what cassoulet is. What's cassoulet, Mama?
Well, son, cassoulet is a French dish that incorporates typically chicken and rabbit and sausage and beans, and it's cooked for a million hours. It's cooked forever. Years ago, though, I would say probably in the early 2000s or late 90s, we used to subscribe to Real Simple magazine, and they had a fake cassoulet recipe years ago that I've always missed. I loved that recipe. I made it all the time. And so I just decided to go look for it. And look at that. The internet had this recipe that I always really loved. So I went ahead and printed it out. And we're going to make this fake cassoulet with a few modifications, a few things that I like to add to it. So we're not going to cook it for a million years. So that's the first deviation. It's not going to be cooked traditionally. I am going to use the big cast iron pot to do it, and it's going to have some of the traditional ingredients in it. So right now, Luca is chopping up parsnips, which I love this recipe so much that I started growing parsnips in my garden before you were born, actually, son. I was really excited, and they were very good. So, yeah, so we're going to add parsnips. If you've never had them before, yes, make them into smaller chunks. If you've never had parsnips before, they're kind of like a spicy carrot. They're like a very flavorful carrot. Very unusual flavor. So we're going to start with those vegetables. And then as soon as you're done with those, Luca, I'm going to pass the camera over to you, and I'm going to step in. So what I'm going to do, this recipe is very simple. I'm going to just show you the ingredients here that I printed out. Ingredients are olive oil, sausage, chicken broth, onion, carrots, parsnips, tomato, or a can of tomatoes. We actually have tomatoes here. We're gonna use 3 cans of cannellini beans, then dried thyme, salt, pepper, 3 cloves of garlic minced, plain breadcrumbs, which I actually just ground out of a stale baguette, and then butter. So this is very easy. We're just going to end up sort of we'll just go over the instructions here. So in the Dutch oven, we're going to heat the oil, cook the sausage until brown, breaking it up. And I'm going to actually add regular pork as well. And then I'm going to add chicken broth, vegetables, beans, thyme, blah, blah, blah. And then mix in the beans and sort of simmer it. And then I'm going to take it out and put it into the oven. So I've already got the oven going at 400 degrees. And I'm going to just add a slightly different method using slightly better cooking techniques. Theirs is made to be very easy, but we're going to do the slightly more challenging, not challenging. We're going to just kind of do the extra things that need to give you a better flavor.
Yeah, I was just thinking.
What?
Like we're making cassoulet.
Yes.
And this is like the famous French recipe.
Yeah.
This doesn't sound too dissimilar from something that would be made by just like a regular family. And I always think that when they're like classic French foods, like steak, it's like that's not French food, that's just food.
It's homey food, I think that French food, a lot of times people think it's all fancy sauces and things like that, but a lot of French food is just sort of homey food. So we're going to get out the cast iron French pot, and we're going to start here. Oh, hey, there's beets in there.
Whoa!
I roasted beets the other day and I forgot to take them out. All right. And now we're going to go ahead and start with our excellent olive oil, my friend Roberto Becchi's olive oil. One little note, if you have one of these pots, it's a cast iron pot, you can see on the inside it already looks oily. And that's because when I clean this, I wipe it down with olive oil every time. And you don't want to forget that step because that's what keeps it seasoned. That's what keeps it working really well and things don't get really stuck onto it. So we're going to go ahead and get started with browning our meat.
I just want to say hi to Chitan Shankirja from
India.
Watching from Jodhpur, India.
Yeah, because Chitan actually is a friend of Reed, and Reed says he's the best local guide he's ever worked with. And I don't know if you know this, Chetan, but you're going to be a guest on here pretty soon. So get your cooking shoes on, because you're going to be doing some fun stuff with us. So Reed and I and Andrew are planning a kind of fun event starting in February, where we're going to kind of study a different country or destination every week. And so we're just going to focus cooking and interviews and all the stuff that I usually do on different destinations, so you can get to know some of the cool places that we go and some of the interesting people that we know. So it's going to be really fun. It's going to start on the 1st of February. All right. So we've got lots of vegetables. This is a lot of food, by the way. So be sure you have some hungry teenagers available to help you with it.
All of this will be gone. There will be nothing left.
All right, so I'm starting off. So this is a deviation from this recipe, as it's written in Real Simple, is that I added chopped up pork to it. I was going to do chicken, which would be more consistent with a real French cassoulet recipe, but the pork was on sale. It was in. I've been kind of dumpster diving at the grocery store, grabbing whatever is in the discount section. So that was something in the discount section. So we're going to start by just getting the meat kind of browned. And in the meantime, let's see if we've got all of our vegetables. We do not. So I'm going to go ahead and chop up the tomato. I just happen to have these because I do a produce delivery box every other week. And so I have fresh tomatoes, but if you don't have fresh tomatoes, canned tomatoes are fine. And what's fun about this is that you can really add different things in. I was thinking about giving it an Italian twist by adding in some kale, some Italian kale, but then Luca had a different idea for that kale dish.
What idea did I have now?
The bread soup.
Oh yeah, I love bread soup.
Yeah, so
Wait.
we're going to do ribollita over the weekend. We'll do it at a Cucina Quarantena this weekend and show you how to make ribollita.
Oh yeah, I remember last time we made ribollita. We did it and we watched Skyfall. That was fun.
Did we?
We did, I think.
I don't remember that at all.
Huh.
Funny how moms and kids remember different things. I'm also going to take requests. So if you guys have requests for recipes for me to work on, or recipes you saw that you'd like me to do again, we're going to try to get cooking here on the weekends, at least one day per weekend. We're going to try to make sure that we've got a cooking thing up for y'all, because it's time to cast off all of our holidayness and go back into our regularly scheduled lives. So, all right. I was going to use garden carrots, but they're pretty funky looking, so we'll have to go out to the garden one of these days with the camera and show you what's left. Speaking of which, we actually have started our seedlings already. So we started already. What do we do? We've got onions, tomatoes, eggplant, things that take a long time. So all of you out there who are real French fanatics who love spending time in France are going to say this isn't cassoulet. And you're right. A real cassoulet should take, I'm good with making a fake cassoulet. So there's the sausage and the pork, just to get us started. Okay, so while that is browning, I'm going to get out some of my herbs to go in there, so we've got some thyme. Everybody's staying warm this weekend. It's freezing here in Seattle. That's why I was thinking that this would be a nice cozy dish, because it is very, very cold. We thought we were going to get some snow this weekend, but maybe not. I wouldn't mind getting a little snow, just because then I could get the kiddos out and walking outdoors, which would be nice. When I've had this recipe, the real thing before, it's been in France, but in Provence mostly is where I've had it, and I've had it kind of in the off season, like in late October. I've had this before, so it's kind of French country food. All right, so I think that that's probably good. I'm going to let that go for just a second, and then I'm going to toss in all of the vegetables. Now, if I were to do this the proper way, after browning all that meat, I would probably take meat out of the pot so that the vegetables could brown better. But I'm lazy, right, Luca? Luca, who's multitasking by reading his Instagram feed while he films.
Hey, not only am I reading my Instagram feed, but I'm also doing some OneNote work.
Oh, you're doing schoolwork. Okay.
Also talking with my friends, but triple tasking. How about that?
You are triple tasking. I am very impressed with you.
Triple tasking? Yeah, triple tasking.
Okay, so I think that this is pretty much browned. Well, it's not perfectly browned. It's going to brown it for a minute or two more, and then you can add in the vegetables. It doesn't really matter if it gets fully browned because it's going to be cooking in the pot for a long, long time. But the reason you brown stuff like this, for the sausage, it's because you want to break it up. But for the pork, it's also nice to get a little bit of a brown texture on the exterior of it because then it'll taste better. So you're always trying to build up that thing they call fond, that kind of yummy brown bits, the brown bits that always taste so nice. So that is close. Always a good knife skill. I think that this is the easiest way to peel garlic, is just to smash it with the side of your knife and then chop it, because the peel typically falls right off after you smash it with the side. We actually have garlic shoots already coming up in the garden. So
Really?
Yeah, we do. There's probably maybe 25 garlic plants that have started coming up in the back garden. So I'm already thinking about what we're planting, since I typically am never home in spring, and I'm never home to be able to really tend a garden, but this year obviously it looks like I'll be home at least through the spring, so we may as well have a good time and plant a nice garden and enjoy that. They say that this is the most depressing week of the entire year. Did you know that, Luca? This is the most depressing week of the entire year?
I mean, I'm not surprised. You got the end of the semester. You got the...
the end of the semester.
You got absolutely no light. I woke up today and it was already getting orange-ish.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to put these onions in. And the carrots and the parsnips. I'm not going to put in tomatoes. I'm kind of overloading the pot now.
I wonder why Provence has the best French cuisine.
Because it's closer to Italy. That's why. They have more sun. So people with more sun tend to be happier and they tend to be better cooks. That's my theory. Me being from Southern California, so yeah, that's why I'm biased in that theory. Okay.
I mean, Mexico does have like the best food, so, or the best North American food.
True, we do love Mexican food.
So, sorry for all you hot dog and burger lovers in the chat, but
Okay, so I've decided I want to kind of kick up the Frenchness of this, and so because I always kind of riff on things, so I'm going to add herbs de Provence. The best herbs de Provence I ever got was in Arles at the market, and that mixture, this is a little bit too lavender heavy in my opinion, but the actual herbs de Provence mix you get in France is really magical, and you can mix this with like mayonnaise and garlic and make a nice dip out of it. But anything you put it on, it tastes like summer to me. So I'm going to kind of put a generous sprinkling of herbs de Provence in this. So it's lavender, it's rosemary, it's thyme, a bunch of different things. It has a really particular smell though. Okay, so I don't really care that the onions are not getting too browned. Like I said, normally I would take them out and batch it and first cook the meat, then cook the onions and the aromatics. But because this is really like a stew, it's not as critical. So as long as we get them starting to kind of wilt, I think that's probably fine. So next thing on the list, I'm going to grab some some chicken broth. And then we'll add in some garlic as well. It smells good already, doesn't it?
It does.
So you could stay and cook it like this for a while if you wanted to, and really kind of wilt those onions and brown the vegetables a little bit. So that's up to you.
As a certain YouTuber would say, let the flavors get to know each other.
Oh, I like that. Let the flavors get to know each other. That's cool. Okay. So in goes garlic. You can also really amp up the garlic if you like that, which I, of course, love garlic, so I'm always putting in too much. This is one of my favorite kitchen tools, by the way. I know you've probably seen me use it before. It is a silicone spatula, and I cook with these high heat silicone spatulas because they're really nice for getting down into the corners of the pan and scraping things down. And they don't melt, they're just fine, but they have to be the silicone ones. And you got to get ones that are silicone or silicone and wood, not silicone and metal, because the silicone and metal ones burn your hands, which I have unfortunately learned the hard way. So this one here is a KitchenAid one. It works really well. It does melt a little bit if you leave it for too long sitting like that, which I have been known to do, as this handle could attest. So we've got the oven at 400. The oven is just ready to go. So as soon as I am done getting this stuff cooked up a little bit, we can go. So now I'm going to add these other ingredients. We've got the tomatoes, which is not much, and to be honest, I think this is going to be a pretty wimpy tomato presence. We don't really want it to be a tomatoey flavor, but my thought on this is that we do want that kind of umami-ish thing you get off of tomatoes, so I'm going to just add to this recipe, just because I'm always thinking about altering it. I'm adding a little tomato paste. Tomato paste is a great way to add a depth of flavor without making something taste specifically tomatoey. So just adding about a tablespoon of that.
European fish sauce.
It is European fish sauce. That's a really good way to put it. Actually, this could, you know what we should do? We should do like a Southeast Asian cassoulet sometime.
That would be a really good idea. What would be in that?
I don't know. We'd have to make it up. Our own sort of thing. Luca and I 2 years ago were in Vietnam, so this has been on my mind, is Vietnam and all the good food that we had. My good friend Trish came with us, and we ate so many interesting things while we were in Vietnam.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay, so that looks pretty good.
Whenever I think of the trip to Vietnam, I think of one specific food moment that I will always regret not participating.
What?
The wine moment.
What?
The wine.
When did we have wine?
The rice wine and the snake wine.
Oh, the snake wine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Talk about the snake wine. I
We were
love
on
the story.
the Mekong Delta, and on the Mekong Delta, we went to visit kind of like a person that made local goods. You know, they made all kinds of local things. These are 3 cans cannellini beans, by the way. So we went in and they made candy and they made liquor and all these other kinds of things. And they had a python that they had soaked in liquor. And that was kind of the cool thing to do at this particular destination, was to have the python wine. And I'm not a real big drinker to start with, but drinking python wine was maybe not something I would have chosen. But sometimes when you're the tour guide, you don't make those choices. You have to model good behavior, so you do the thing. So yeah, I drank the python wine. It wasn't so bad, actually. It was okay.
I remember one of the guys saying that it was very grassy. I didn't have any because I was very scared by the python inside of the wine.
Understandably so. All right. So I've added the cannellini beans. I've added the tomato and tomato paste. I've added the pepper. Now we just need to salt it up a little bit.
So, in conclusion, go on the Vietnam tour.
Well, I don't know when I'm going to do it again. Don't sell people on a tour. I don't know when I'm going to do it again. We will do it again, though. I'm looking forward to Southeast Asia next year, doing Thailand, Cambodia, and Myanmar. So, yeah, that might have been too much.
It's a lot of stuff though. It is
a lot of stuff, but I think I went a little too crazy on the salt. It is also kosher salt, which kosher salt is not as salty as regular salt. But hey, you know what? Even people who cook on the internet mess up, so there we go. I think that's probably fine. It won't be too salty, no? This is the problem with being the kind of cook that doesn't measure anything. Okay. Now I'm supposed to add chicken broth to this, but now that I'm looking at it, I don't really think it needs it, because it's got its own sauciness, like the sauciness from the beans and the vegetables.
Ooh, actually,
But
I might be interfering a little bit too much in the making of the dish, but
right.
maybe what we could just add all the chicken broth and then.
Oh boy, Luca, you need to taste this.
Oh my goodness gracious me!
Isn't that so good already?
Oh my gosh!
It's crazy how good it is, and we didn't really do anything. This took us no time to put together at all.
What the heck?
What the heck?
Oh my
I know.
God. Oh.
This is what I'm saying. This is why I looked through the internet trying to find this recipe, because I have never found anything quite like it. All right, so now that we are done with this, we can let it cook, but I think I'm actually going to let it bubble in the oven. And yeah, you see how the liquid is all the way up to the top of the vegetables. I don't think I need to add that chicken broth. It called for 1.5 cups, but I think we're good.
What we could do is you could fill it the rest of the way up with chicken broth and then crack the top while it's in the oven so that it just reduces.
That's not going to work, because the other neato thing about cassoulet is the breadcrumbs. So I took an old baguette and threw it into the Vitamix and turned it into dust. So we're going to put that over the top. I've already turned off the oven. And this is going to be that lovely crust on the top. Yeah, you've never had this before, which is so funny, because this was probably my favorite recipe that I used to make before I had kids. I used to make this when I had friends and family over, because it just was always so good. And like I said, it's not real cassoulet. It's fake, but who cares? It's really good is what it is.
The audience has a couple of questions.
Yes, please.
One from Chatan. Could you replace the parsnips for radish, since there is...
I was actually thinking about doing that. Or not radish, turnip. Radish is too spicy. I don't think that would work. But something like turnips would work, I think. So I would vote yes for that. But you can really kind of make it up as you go along. This is just what's more traditional. Okay, and then I'm going to drizzle a little olive oil over the top. It calls for butter, but I'm going to drizzle olive oil because I have really nice olive oil in my house. And good olive oil makes everything more delicious. Okay, so that is that, my friends. And I'm not putting a lid on, because when I put it in there, I want this breadcrumb crust to kind of start to, become crusty. So we're going to go ahead and pop this into the oven. The recipe only calls for it to be in there a short while. I'm going to leave it in there for about a half hour or so, and then come back and check back and see how it is. So in we go. And now we're just off to let it sit and cook. So there you go. That is cassoulet in, let's say that was about 15 minutes. Anybody can do it. It's all stuff that's in your local grocery store. You could substitute put in like chicken legs if you want, if you have chicken quarters. You can put lots of different things in, but that is a good recipe. So again, you can find the recipe on Real Simple. I'll put the link up in the comments on this video. Yes,
the audience has a couple more questions.
Sure.
Is why or why not should we peel or not peel our vegetables?
Some people like to peel vegetables because it's prettier, and the vegetables can be rough on the outside. They can also have those little kind of like wispy hairy things. I leave the skin on the outside of my vegetables because I have had family members convince me that the skins of vegetables have extra nutrients in them. So that's why I keep you know who I'm talking about. So I decided that I will leave the skins on my vegetables, provides a little extra nutrients maybe. But typically, most people would have peeled the parsnips and the carrots. Yes.
And there's part 2 of Chatan's question, and yes, hing would be a good addition to the dish. It would up the oniony, garlicky flavor, and that's good. I think that's all the questions.
All right. Well, there you go, everybody. So that's Cucina Quarantena for tonight. Easy, fake cassoulet. It'll taste delicious, and it's very warming on a night like this. I would serve it with a loaf of crusty bread, which I've already got some bread dough going, and a nice bold glass of red wine by a fire. I think that would be the perfect way to enjoy this. So thanks for tuning in. Luca and I will be back again this weekend with some other kind of Cucina Quarantena adventure. I'm not sure what yet, but we'll come up with something. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you again soon. Ciao!